Well, welcome to the Deliverance Network. And as you can see, we are in the dark, almost totally in the dark. And there is a reason for that as we're coming to you today. It's just due to the type of message that I'm going to share with you. Now, I'm imagining that quite a few of you out there have heard of this in our prophetic circles, and it's that thing known as the 3 days of darkness. And so if you have not heard of the 3 days of darkness, I urge you to Google it, look it up, see what visionaries there are that have spoken about it. It is something that I had not heard of personally. I'm a newer Catholic, having done the RCIA and converted in 2001. Even though I've been going to the Catholic Church for quite some time with my husband, and I was not immersed at all in Bible prophecy or anything like that until this profound journey that God has led me on the last 20 years. And in a dream experience, not the one I'm sharing with you today, but another one, God had showed me that there was going to be 3 days of darkness, and that there would be a time of daylight prior to it, but then the 3 days of darkness would come. And I remember when I was sharing that with some Catholic friends later on, they said to me, "Oh yeah, you're talking about the prophecy of the 3 days of darkness." And I said, "What do you mean? What prophecy is that?" So I had never heard of this personally prior to experiencing it directly from God in dream experience. And in this one I'm sharing with you, it's again not shared in the vein to inspire fear at all, but to open the discussion about it. Maybe if you haven't heard about it, to do a little bit of research. We are in very, very unusual, very biblical times, and literally entering that time of revelation, that great storm, the illumination of conscience we've talked about. It's a time of purification that we are entering and have already started. And some of the messages that are featured on countdowntothekingdom.com already speak about this period of purification. Heaven is saying you've already entered it. Mary has said it repeatedly in some of the message that we have seen through various visionaries around the world. And part of the reason for this purification, of course, is that evil has never been as bad as it is now. In our day is worse than the days of Noah, when God had to purify the earth with the deluge, the flood. And we all know, if we've been reading our Bibles, that the next purification is going to be one of fire. And it's almost as if, fire is needed because it really is the only thing that's going to be able to fully and completely purify. But I say this in a vein of faith and trust in God. I don't want anyone to be afraid, because if you are listening and you have a relationship with God, you've chosen God, you love the gospel, you're trying your best, to live a holy life, you really have nothing to fear. You're in the safest place possible. And it is more for those who have not heard or don't realize that we're in our spiritual journeys, that they should take seriously these words and the call to try to discover a relationship with God yourself, repent of sin. If you're Catholic, go to confession, clean up your act, as it were, and amend your life, because it really and truly is an urgent call now. There is not much more time to convert, as heaven puts it. In this experience that I'm sharing with you, it was a very, very detailed dream experience of the 3 days of darkness. And in it, I was shown basically worldwide conflagration starting. And it's a fancy word for fire. And in this dream experience, I did see meteorites. I am not going to testify to that at all. I have no idea the things that God might allow or the things coming. That I leave to others out there, and perhaps church-approved visionaries. I'm not going to comment it, but I did see meteorites at the beginning of this dream experience. And then fire basically falling from the sky. And I was calling urgently for everyone to come in, and that we were all going to have to be indoors and basically downstairs in a basement, and that all of our windows were going to have to be covered completely, blackout, so that we did not see outside. And I also was shown that even though we might have had nothing when we entered that state, God is going to provide for everything we need. I was shown we would have resources, heat, water, food, but it would be a literal 3 days that we would be indoors, and that we would have to hasten indoors and not go out, and that God was going to then do a purification during this period to remove all the evil from the world. It was a very, very detailed dream experience, but I was shown that we would be provided for and protected, and that it would not affect us if we enter into the home. And part of the 3 days of darkness warning is also to have blessed candles for whenever that time is. And I am not saying at all when that time might be. I think circumstances are going to unfold. There'll be a lot coming before that ever happens. And the candles for the 3 days of darkness are to be beeswax candles, 100% beeswax. I have heard in previous discussions in circles, prophetic circles, that the reason they need to be 100% beeswax is that basically anything man-made is not going to last. So I've heard that we are to have 100% beeswax blessed candles, so blessed by our Catholic priests. We do have them available on the Sisterhood Ministry website shop that we ship wherever you need them. So you can definitely check that out at sisterhood.live. And that they will be the only source of light during those 3 days of darkness. And it's going to be a purification of the world, and then after, when we emerge from that, it's going to be all evil gone, which is, it's a wonderful thing. It's almost likening to childbirth, and how we have to go through a period of pain to emerge to something beautiful after. And I'm not saying it's a wonderful thing to have to purify the earth. I imagine, I wish we didn't have to go through purification. I wish that people would be able to just be changed, and that we would have nothing but love and goodness and kindness. And unfortunately, God wishes it too. He wishes our world would be a very different place if everyone chose to love. But unfortunately, God is going to have to act to help us to be purified. And he's doing lots of different things. The 3 days of darkness is almost that last final purification. And I just would be remiss if I didn't share some of the experiences God has shown me of it. I have no idea personally where we're at in the prophetic time clock. And again, I'm not sharing this to inspire fear at all, but to really make an urgent call if you do not believe in God. And if you do not believe that you do need to choose. And the reality is we very much are in our spiritual battle, and that we have to choose whose side we're going to be on, and that illumination of conscience that I believe is coming, that will definitely be sooner. It will be a moment of every soul seeing themselves in 100% the light of God's truth, and as they actually are in God's eyes. So there'll be no ability to hide or lie to yourself. And so that illumination of conscience is going to be a moment of mercy. I've spoken about it before, but a difficult one, because it'll be a painful reality to see ourselves in truth as we actually are. We are, often unable to see ourselves really as we are. And so that act of mercy, God is going to allow, and that many people will flood to him in that time. So we have lots of time still to choose God, but it is very, very important that we do that, because the things that God is going to do after that means you will have made your choice. And so I think I would be remiss if I didn't share at least a couple of times this witness to the 3 days of darkness, that I have also experienced it, been shown it by God even before I knew it was a thing or that it existed. And so that is just my little sharing of the 3 days of darkness. Again, I do not want you to fear, but I want you to do what you can to grow in holiness, in love of your neighbor, and in prayer, so that you can help draw other people to God, because obviously God created every single one of us, loves us all to death, wants every single last person to be with him in heaven. And of course, that's the same thing that I wish as well. And that's why I pray so much and have for 20 years now. So that is my challenge for you today. Try to bring as many people as you can to Christ, because we are still in a time of daylight. And so we want to be prepared as much as possible for ourselves and for everyone else. God bless you and your families today.